are so excited to have you here. Last week, we talked with Minerva University about standing out to Gen Z students in a saturated virtual environment. And today, we're going to continue the conversation by discussing the importance of taking a targeted and intentional approach to recruitment. Just like last week, we've only got 20 minutes and we're not going to go through a formal presentation. This is just a space for you to learn from an expert on building your brand with a new generation of talent. My name is Michelle Wu, and I'm the Strategic Client Specialist for Higher Education at Tallo. And joining me today is Jonathan Hoster, the Undergraduate Recruitment Specialist for the College of Engineering and Computer Science at Syracuse University. The College of Engineering and Computer Science offers more than 30 programs in 4 different departments, including biomedical and chemical engineering, civil and environmental engineering, electrical engineering and computer science, and mechanical and aerospace engineering. I've got to ask some questions to get started, but please feel free to add your thoughts and questions into the Q&A so we can make sure we get those answered too and make this valuable for everyone. I want to go ahead and get started by welcoming Jonathan to the conversation. Jonathan has worked in college admissions for 14 years and has served on STEM education committees for the National Association for College Admissions Counseling, NACAC, and he has also served on the executive board for the New York State Association for College Admission Counseling. He cares deeply about STEM education, diversity, equity and inclusion, and college access and success. It's so great to have you here with us today, Jonathan. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Michelle. It's great to see you. I'm really excited for the conversation.
Me too. So Jonathan and everyone, to get us started, just wanted to talk about, we recently surveyed about just under 2,500 Tallo users about their future college plans. And when asked about what was most important to them when selecting their college, the #1 answer was overwhelmingly academic program offerings at 63%, followed by financial aid and scholarships at 22%. But things like campus life, extracurriculars, and social scene combined were only a top priority to 15% of our respondents. So academics is so important. And Jonathan, I'd love for you to share a little bit about how you help students envision what life would be specifically like as an engineering or a computer science student instead of just any student at Syracuse University.
Sure, Michelle, happy to. So as you mentioned, my role at Syracuse University is specifically overseeing recruitment for the College of Engineering and Computer Science. And I'm really excited to share with high school students and their families the opportunities that we have here. And we have just a really great team of current student ambassadors and faculty and staff who help us tell those stories really on a daily basis, whether it's in person on campus or on Zoom. So specifically, we host information sessions every day, usually twice a day, about the College of Engineering and Computer Science, and that includes a tour of some of our laboratories. And the tour part is what the students really gravitate. That's their favorite part of the experience. So what it looks like for them is they'll do the Syracuse information session, the campus tour, and then they'll come see us if they want to learn more specifically about the engineering and computer science opportunities. And of course, we're doing a lot of that on Zoom now as well. So it's an interesting situation I think a lot of us are in the world of college admissions, because we were doing all in person for a while, and then we did about 1.5 years of just Zoom. And so now we're trying to figure out how to do both, but we can't do both at the same levels that we were doing them before. So that's kind of a good problem to have, but I think what a lot of us are trying to figure out the balance right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you work closely with the admissions department and getting those students. So for those information sessions, are you going out and seeking students specifically for your department, or do you wait for them to come through admissions and then go from there?
So it's mostly the latter. So my colleagues in the university admissions office are really responsible for a lot of the strategic initiatives that we have in terms of name buys and getting students into our CRM so we can market to them. But then in the College of Engineering and Computer Science, we have some specific partnerships that we work with, like with Tallo and connecting with students on Tallo, as well as partnerships we have with other organizations like First Robotics, ACE Mentor Program, and Project Lead the Way, all places that we know there's a high percentage of students that are interested in studying computer science and engineering. So we do like to target them specifically to talk about our programs.
Sure. And is it right that do you offer specific scholarships? Am I correct with that for those specific student groups?
We do, yes. We started it with FIRST Robotics, and then we've added over the past couple of years partnership with Project Lead the Way and ACE Mentor. So students who are involved in any of those organizations, we have a simple form on our website that once they submit it, it tags their record in our CRM, so we know they're involved with FIRST or Project Lead the Way or ACE. And so when it comes time to look at those specific scholarships, we know who we can consider for those. It's really a no-brainer from our perspective, because we know we're gonna award X number of scholarships each year, and so it's not really additional scholarships. It's targeting certain amounts of scholarships for those groups that we know have a high interest in engineering and computer science typically.
Sure. Now, do those partners help you promote those scholarships, or do they give you like a list where you can go after them and you promote the scholarships yourself, or is it a little bit of both?
I would say it's a little bit of both. Those partnerships, like our partnership with Tallo, have been really beneficial for us. And in the case of FIRST, because we're a scholarship partner, we get a list of what they call their Dean's List, which is a neat award. It's named for Dean Kamen, who's the founder of FIRST, but it also has a similar connotation, as you would expect a Dean's List in college, that these students are really high performing academically and in regard to community engagement as well. So we can market directly to those students, and then we also get invited to have a table at a lot of their events, and going to like the FIRST Robotics Championship is like one of the coolest events that I've been to. It's really exciting. Project Lead the Way, we're working on a formal agreement with them now to expand on just the scholarship part, that they have a score sharing and information sharing that their students opt into. So we'll be able to directly market to a lot more Project Lead the Way students. And we have similar relationship with ACE Mentor as well. In fact, we just participated in a specific ACE Mentor virtual college fair with their New York City region last week.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. And I know whenever you've connected with these students, you know that they're probably going to be a good fit for your program. But I was really interested to hear about those mock classes that you have. If you share a little bit of information about that, about giving those students the kind of a glimpse into what it would be like to be a Syracuse University student within your program.
Sure. Yeah, this was something we started, I guess, about a year ago. So fall 2020, when we were closed to visitors, and by that point we'd already done probably 6 months of like Zoom info sessions, and I wanted to change it up a little bit. I was getting tired of the same Zoom info session all the time, and hearing from my colleagues that work with high school students were saying the same thing, that the high school students were getting a little tired of just the admission sessions on Zoom. So I approached some of our professors, and they were really excited about this opportunity. And so starting last fall, we did it again in the spring, and we have it going on again this fall. We've had about 6 or 7 sample engineering and computer science classes. And I'm not talking about like a 6-week commitment or anything. Each of these sample classes is just 1 hour on a particular weeknight on a particular topic. And it's been really neat for me to see the high school students interact with our professors about a topic of interest to them. And so, it's not a hard sell about Syracuse like our regular info sessions are. It's, let's talk about this topic. Here's the Syracuse professor presenting it. A lot of times they're interactive. One of our professors uses what I said are scary math equations, but he said they weren't scary. So, but they were scary. They're scary to me. Hopefully they're not too scary to the high school students, but that's been really cool. And then other questions come up, like study abroad and other things about the school kind of come up in the Q&A anyway. So that's been pretty exciting.
So from that, do you kind of start out with the information session, the mock class that is related to a specific class, and then do students have the opportunity to stay after if they have questions about your admissions or financial aid?
They can, yeah. So I'll drop the link in the chat. Everybody can take a look at what we're doing. And so on that page is a link to the sample classes that we have going on this semester. But there's really no info session component to it. I mean, I'm usually there. I open up the sample class, explain who I am, and then I introduce the professor. They share their screen, they present the topic. In some cases, they're pretty interactive too, and asking students to participate via the chat, or sometimes by unmuting and popping on their camera if they want to. So that we usually do that for 40 or 45 minutes, and then we'll leave 15 or 20 minutes for Q&A. And sometimes the questions, sometimes, the students are really excited. It's been really neat how excited they are about the topic. And so a lot of times the questions are for the professor about that specific topic. But then, other, general things come up as well in terms of like admission statistics and do I have to take calculus in high school and all those kind of things too. So I'm there to answer those.
Sure. Well, it's great that you give them that experience. And we have a question from the audience asking, what is the attendance rate like for these sample classes? And what methods do you utilize to recruit students to attend these events?
So that's a great question. And they've been, generally speaking, they're often better attended than the info session, sessions. Because like I said, I do think a lot of students are kind of worn out of the Zoom info sessions. So it's something different. We haven't done any yet for this fall, but I was looking at next week. I think the first one is next week. There was about 50 students signed up. And, usually maybe we'll get 60% show rate or thereabouts. So it's a healthy crowd, even if we get like, 20, 25 students. But when we started these last fall, I mean, we had a couple of these where we had like 175 students or 200 students, in the room, in the Zoom room. So especially for like aerospace engineering and some of the computer science topics. So they've been really well received. We'll see how it goes this semester. In terms of marketing them, of course, we send it out to all the students in our CRM on the mailing list that are coded as interested in computer science or engineering. And then we've also sent postcards in the regular mail as well to a lot of students about the full menu of virtual sessions we're doing this fall, not just the sample classes, although I've thought about doing a postcard specifically for that. And then I will post it probably this week to the NACAC listserv, and as well as in the college admissions group on Facebook, which is a good way to reach a lot of counselors and encourage them to invite their students to register.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And then we've got another question coming in for those general information sessions. Is that something that it starts out with admissions and then goes directly to your department? Or is it something that your department hosts that's specific to your academic program offerings?
So it's a little different in person versus Zoom. So I'll just briefly touch on both. So in person, the student would go to the university admissions office for the information session hosted by one of my colleagues, the campus tour, and then they'd come over here to us to the engineering school, and we do an engineering and computer science brief overview, and then show them the labs, which, like I said, is the part the students love the best. In the Zoom world, those things aren't connected. So we haven't really done the 4-hour open house on Zoom. I think that's kind of too much to ask people to do. So they'll register for these things separately. So, and they don't have to do both. I mean, they could do like the Syracuse admissions overview on a Monday night, and then they might come to the Syracuse engineering and computer science session on a Tuesday night or a Thursday night to do that. So those things they can register for separately.
That's great. And another question we had coming in, and this might be hard to answer, was asked, how many students do you see enroll typically after attending a sample class? Or do you, what is the conversion rate there?
Yeah, it's a great question. I haven't run the numbers recently, so I don't have hard data to share about that. But I can say that our dean, Cole Smith, who's the dean of the College of Engineering and Computer Science here, has been just so supportive in everything we're doing. And he was one of the first faculty to sign up to do this when we did it last fall, which was really cool. And he does this excellent class called The Art of Algorithms, showing how algorithms are like putting a puzzle together. He makes a game out of it. I end up being the guinea pig, and then he beats me in the game. And but I'm a willing participant. And so what I was going to say about Dean Smith is that he's talked to a number of students, he mentioned to me during orientation and other like freshman activities this year, who referenced, some of these sample classes that we did last year when they were high school senior as, what got them really excited about Syracuse. And then, they ultimately are now enrolled as freshmen. I also talked, these are just anecdotes, but I talked to a student who visited over the summer from San Diego, and he told me that the reason he chose to come visit Syracuse over the summer was because he attended the sample aerospace engineering class back in the spring as a junior. That got him excited about Syracuse, and then he decided to put us on his list for visits this summer. So I don't have hard data, but not in front of me anyway, but some of those anecdotes have been really fuel to keep these going. And it's really, there's no cost really involved. It's an hour of a professor's time, and they've been really happy to do that for us.
That's great. And you just mentioned a junior attending. Do you typically market these to just seniors and juniors, or do you have freshmen and sophomores attend as well?
So that was interesting. Yeah, rarely do we see like a 9th or 10th grader come into the general info session, but yeah, last year we had a decent number, not the majority, of course, but we did have a decent number of 9th and 10th graders popping into some of those sample classes. When I was marketing it to school counselors, they had asked that, can I promote this to younger students? And we were sure, come one, come all. If this is a way to maybe spark a fire in a 9th or 10th grader about, hey, biomedical engineering or chemical engineering, electrical engineering sounds kind of cool. That could then help them, plan some of their math and science classes for the rest of their high school career, which will ultimately make them a good candidate for admission. So yeah, they're very welcome to attend too.
Okay, great. And with your programs, I know, and this is throwing this out at you last minute, but do students have to come in prepared to know what area of engineering or computer science they want to study, or is there a chance for them to kind of figure out once they're a student what they're interested in before declaring their official path?
So it's the latter. It's a good distinction for students to be aware of, because different institutions do this differently. So at Syracuse, generally they apply to the college, and the specific major that they list inside the engineering college really doesn't make any difference in the admission process. So we don't have quotas for how many mechanical engineers or how many computer engineers, how many civil engineers we're going to admit. So anybody who says they're applying to the College of Engineering and Computer Science looked at the same way in regard to admission. And then once they're in the College of Engineering and Computer Science, they're free to switch to any of these majors. And the first year, the curriculum is pretty much the same, which gives them that flexibility. So I always say to the students that when we do these sessions, that some of you probably have known since you were 3 years old that you were going to be a mechanical engineer. That's great. We'll help you do that. But I also tell them, we understand some of you may have just, taken physics as a junior, and your physics teacher told you you should be an engineer, and you're trying to figure out what that means. And that's great too, and we'll help you figure that out. So they can definitely come in as undecided within the engineering school if they want to.
That's great. I'm sure, because I know I had no idea what I wanted to do whenever I was a freshman. So I'm sure that's a huge selling point for your college. But Jonathan, it looks like this 20-minute mark came up really quick. We're so excited to have you here, and thank you for sharing all of the wonderful insight and information today. And thank you for everyone who asked questions and joined us in the conversation. And we're going to go ahead and put up contact information here. If anyone has any additional questions, we'll make sure that we get those to Jonathan, or if you have questions specific to Tallo, we're happy to answer those as well. And we would love to have you join us for next week's session, where we'll hear from the University of Minnesota Rochester about taking a personalized athletic approach to academic recruitment. So stay tuned for that. We will also have the recording posted. Let me go ahead and actually put in the chat. I didn't have this ready. Link to our college recruitment webinar series, where you'll be able to see the recording from last week, this week, and either register for next week's webinar or view the recording if you can't make it. Thank you so much. You all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.